Bountiful ruin. Here I stand, ankle deep in the Carson River. I am here because I wanted to see what it looked like. I wanted to see and feel what a designated 50-mile length of river, highly contaminated with mercury, was like. And it was like, well, a river. Which is the problem. The problem is we can't usually see toxicity. But you know that old adage, what you can't see won't hurt you? It doesn't really work that way. Although it's invisible and murky and likes to hide in plain sight, it can still make its way to our consciousness through cancer and fish kills. One of many sites that I came across during my research of toxic landscapes, the Carson River has a long history of being the unfortunate depository of decades of mining waste produced during the Comstock era. Because of the activities that went on to make many Nevada miners rich and to even help build the foundations of San Francisco, this 50-mile stretch of water, sediments, fish, and wildlife is now one big toxic problem, one of many. Sifting through extensive records compiled by the EPA has journeyed me through all kinds of places and histories. Nuclear waste deposit sites, renegade HazMat collection dumps, unlined ponds of liquid acid buried underneath a cap of soil, chemical manufacturing facilities producing everything from pesticides to household cleaners. These have all been stops on the toxic research train. Despite the diversity of places that I came across through research, I found one thing in common with them all. If they were not designated Superfund sites, which are sites that are put on the national priorities list for cleanup, they were fair game. Fair game for variable standards of cleanup, fair game for cheap real estate development, fair game for the construction of condos, big box stores, and housing. These are camouflaged histories, forgotten, familiarized, abandoned, neglected, bought and sold. All of this landscape camouflage, from direct pave-over projects to the thin green veneers topping our many landfills to the more subtle changes enacted through time, began to formulate a call for resistance in my own work. I wondered, how might I start conceiving of these places, these murky and forgettable shadow kingdoms, in a way as to make them more apparent, so that we can remember instead of forget? Elizabeth Meyer has written, "The flow of toxic chemicals out of containment pits, beyond clay caps, property lines, downstream and downwind, can be read about and acknowledged. But it is known differently, and I would agree more deeply, through sight, sound, and touch, the mind engaged with its body, the intellect connected to emotions." Here is a photo from last year's vacation to Hunters Point. I had a wonderful time. I drank cocktails, read magazines in the sun all day, and even painted my toenails. Magazine reading got a little tough at one point due to all of the commotion. Yeah, these guys were hauling away massive quantities of soil and broken pipes. I heard that they were contaminated with low-level radiation, but I'm not too sure. Dear Mom, I wish you were here. The water is so orange with acid mine drainage that it burns the rubber off of my boots. This environment is extreme. There's only one creature that can live here, a type of bacteria. A bacteria that makes up a pink biofilm. See you soon. I love you, Kadi. It is the year XXX in the culture of contamination, and toxic tyranny abounds. Concrete walls, steel casings, high-tech vessels, and unbounded distance are jettisoned as potential protection from the omnipresence of septic soak. The people are in a state of despair. The remaining rational minds of the earth fight fruitless battles in opposition to inescapable sickness. Each day provides a fresh sense of emergency to the shrinking outposts of the cognizant few. Within a concealed ideological war, the land is divided. We find ourselves in a surreal stasis. The quarantines have begun to emerge. Smokestacks billow toxic exhaust from a cluster of concrete incinerators inside of the AMCO quarantine. The subterranean plume lurking and migrating below the topsoil for the last few decades is finally being burned. The smoke wafts with the westerlies, blowing through the uppermost estates of the East Bay Hills, A stench pervades, the scent of heated vinyl chlorides, benzene, and old pesticides. It enters through the windows and doors, into the nostrils of sleeping children, before soaking into the bedsheets and curtains of affluent homes. The landowners of hilltop real estate are enraged. What are these ceaseless incinerators firing through the night? Commuters on the Nimitz gawk at the spectacle. BART passengers press their faces to the windows. The fires continue to smolder.